Good morning, race fans. Welcome to Talladega Superspeedway in Talladega, Alabama. I'm Aaron Johnson with the Johnson iRacing team, bringing you today's feature event. It is 60 fast laps in the Tyler Daniels Racing Xfinity Summer Spectacular from Talladega. Tyler Daniels Racing is a diverse, inclusive community that welcomes all regardless of background, ability, or history. TDR has a charitable focus. We believe in giving. We've done fundraisers for the Iowa Food Bank, the Wyoming County Animal Shelter, the Drive to Stay Alive 200 to support mental health awareness, and numerous events to help individual members. We're a big family. We care about each other. Yeah, we squabble sometimes. But when it comes down to it, TDR members care about each other in racing and in life. Tyler Daniels Racing prides itself on intense, clean racing leagues in action. No matter your skill level, Tyler Daniels Racing has something for you. Asphalt, dirt, road courses, ovals, NASCAR, Legends Car, IndyCar. If you can race it on the iRacing platform, chances are Tyler Daniels Racing has a league that features that vehicle. All right, this is the TDR Xfinity Summer Spectacular from Talladega. Let's have a look at the starting lineup for today's event. Starting in the 14th spot, in car number 14, that is Jonathan Humphrey out of New England. He's in the Taco Lover racing car. Starting in the 13th spot, in car number 16, he races with us from Long Island, New York. That is Fish Fisher. Starting 12th, in car number 61, racing out of Virginia's, that is Keith Fonseca in the U.S. Air Force, car number 61. Starting 11th in car number 17, that's Robert Trask in the Dude Wipes Pudge Grudge Xfinity vehicle, Robert racing out of Florida. Starting 10th in car number 00, it's the Mizzou car of Aaron Johnson. Johnson running that Mustang out of Bailey, Colorado. Now, starting 9th in car number 28, that is Jim Downham. Downham in the BACC Charities car. Downham running with us out of Ocean City, New Jersey. Starting 8th in car number 13, that is Anthony Hooker. Hooker's going to show up on your screen as car number 70, but in the telemetry on the bottom right-hand corner of the screen will show up as car number 70. Hooker running the Intoxicated Gaming car out of New York. Starting 7th in car number 66, that's the Mustang of Bob Burlew. Burlew running the Bassett Rescue car out of Whiting, New Jersey. Starting 6th in car number 4, he's going to show up on your screen as car 31, but as 4 in your telemetry, that is Ashton Hooker in the Hooker Motorsports TylerDRacing.com car out of New York. Starting 5th in car number 7, that's another Pudge Grudge Dude Wipes car. That is Andy Shaner. He's out of Brownstown, Indiana. Starting 4th in car number 5, that's car 77 of Keegan Sabilo. Sabilo in the K. Sabilo Racing vehicle out of Michigan. Starting 3rd in car number 1, that is the Nowski Nation car number 23 of the Toyota of Tony Caron. Tony out of Bedford, New Hampshire. On the front row outside, car number 96, it's one more Pudge Grudge Dude Wipes car. That's David Tremblay out of Toledo, Ohio. And on the pole in car 21, racing out of Hampstead, North Carolina, that's the Carolinas region car of Mike Matherly. Pace car leads the field into turn number 3. Matherly on the pole. Tremblay to his outside. Behind them, it's second row of Caron and Keegan Sabilo. A lot of fast cars in this race. 14 cars for 60 laps. That'll take us, about 160 some odd miles there. It's a little bit bigger than a 2.5 mile track, so it ought to be quite the race. It's going to be Matherly leading them to the flag. As we watch the pace car lead the field through turn 3. 14 cars, TDR. Saturday mornings at 11 a.m. Eastern. If you're interested in running this league, go to TylerDRacing.com. Ask to join a league. Make sure that you join the TDR Facebook page, because we're going to check and see if you're a member of the Facebook page. And if you're a member of the Facebook page and you ask to join a league, if you're willing to follow the TDR rules, being inclusive, polite, decent, and taking responsibility, we'd love to have you. Pace car is in. Matherly leads the field to green. The green flag is out. Mike Matherly all over the throttle as Matherly takes off. Tony Caron gets a great jump, looks to the inside, runs that Toyota down 3 wide on the start. Caron on the inside. Matherly stuck in the middle now as David Tremblay goes by on the high side. Mike Matherly must have missed a shift there early on as he's dropped back into the 4th spot. David Trumbley's going to take the lead with Sabilo just behind him. Then it's Tony Karen, Matherly. Behind them, the 31 of Ashton Hooker. Those are your top 5. And behind Hooker, we've got, looks like Andy Shaner running in. Johnson really making a move down to the inside. Sorry, not Johnson. That was the 14 of Jonathan Humphrey. So Humphrey across the track down to the inside. Andy Shaner slips up just a bit from the bottom lane there. Mike Matherly on the outside. As David Trumbley hugs the yellow line, he's going to lead the field out of the turn and down onto the back straightaway. Trumbley with the lead. Wow! All the way to the inside. That was the 70 of Hooker. Hooker in the grass, trying to find his way back out onto the speedway. Anthony Hooker narrowly averting disaster. On lap 1 of 60 at Talladega, Hooker looks like he may have lost the draft. That's going to be a problem for Anthony Hooker. If he can't catch back up to this drafting pack, he will fall behind quickly. The draft changing lap times by about 1.5 seconds at Talladega, and Anthony Hooker has lost the draft. So Anthony Hooker in deep trouble. He needs a caution or he's going to end up a lap down very quickly. Out front, you see the cars running 2 by 2. A lot of movement here early. Drivers racing hard. Somebody gets shoved down to the inside there. That looked like Hooker got shoved to the inside. Sabilo on the apron trying to stay out of trouble. Now merges back up into traffic. Nope, back down again. Now back up into traffic. That's the 23 of Karen up front. Shaner moves up to the high side. That's the 14 of Humphrey diving down below. A lot of action early. We're only 2 laps in, and you'd think it's the last lap. Shaner back down in front of the 31 of Ashton Hooker. As we watch Trumbley and the 23 of Tony Karen race, Mike Matherly's moved back up into that second row. They're 3 wide. Aaron Johnson on the high side looking to find his way to the front. They're 3 wide. Trumbley's the meat in the sandwich. Andy Shaner down on the bottom. Aaron Johnson way up high, and he's falling back rapidly. Johnson in deep trouble. He's got no help. So Aaron Johnson hung out to dry on the outside all by himself as Mike Matherly moves up into that second lane. Looks like he's going to try to take the lead. It's Matherly on the high side. Johnson trying to get back in line. He does. He drops back in behind the 96 of Trumbley. Tony Karen leads the field. Andy Shaner's second. Ashton Hooker takes a look to the inside. No dice. Mike Matherly on the outside now. He's pulling forward on this group. The outside line not quite as quick. It doesn't look like early. Johnson pulls out of line just a bit. Don't know what's going on there. The 7 of Shaner slips up just a bit in the tri-oval. Shaner and Matherly bump doors. Andy Shaner now down below the yellow line. Back up into traffic. Below the yellow line again. Shaner on the apron. Ashton Hooker giving Shaner some room, trying to let him back in. No harm, no foul. That was a near miss with Mike Matherly and Andy Shaner. Down the back straightaway, Karen leads. Johnson is behind Karen on the inside. Johnson now looking into the middle. He's going to move on to the high side as Mike Matherly goes by. Matherly takes the lead. Johnson moves up to the outside. He's going to try to push David Trumbley past. It's a 4-car battle with Mike Matherly out front. Matherly in the lead. Tony Karen is second. David Trumbley third. Ashton Hooker coming on the inside now, and he's bringing the 14 of Jonathan Humphrey with him. Trumbley and Johnson on the outside. Mike Matherly leads. We are only on lap 4 of 60. We've had half a dozen lead changes already as this field, these drivers racing really hard, 5 laps in to a 60-lap event. It is Mike Matherly out front. Matherly leads. Karen is second. Ashton Hooker third. On the outside line, David Trumbley and Johnson are falling back. That's the 14 of Jonathan Humphrey moving now into the 4th spot. It's a 3-car parade outside with Trumbley and Johnson well up against the wall. Johnson now looking to the inside, trying to pull some of the draft from the 14 of Humphrey behind Tony Karen. These drivers all over the racetrack. Mike Matherly trying to keep the 31 of Ashton Hooker behind him as Tony Karen looks to the high side, and just above Karen we've got the 14 of Humphrey making it 3 wide. Trumbley's going to stay in that middle groove as Mike Matherly leads lap number 5. We are now on lap 6 of 60. Mike Matherly with the lead as we see Jonathan Humphrey get shuffled way up high. Humphrey now up into that 3rd groove. Tony Karen sliding backward a bit. Andy Shaner going past Karen. It's Matherly, Ashton Hooker, and Andy Shaner running 1, 2, 3. We see the 66 of Bob Burlew coming into the picture. Burlew, really haven't mentioned his name much today, but Bob Burlew looks like he's moving forward. We can see Matherly and Hooker running 1, 2. Ashton Hooker giving Mike Matherly a little bit of a bump draft there. Matherly out front, Hooker second, Andy Shaner third, the 23 of Tony Karen moving past on the outside. 14 cars in the race, 13 cars in this pack as Anthony Hooker has lost the draft. Hooker in danger of going a lap down at Talladega. We are on lap 7 of 60. Mike Matherly still holding on the lead. Tony Caron taking a look to the high side. David Trumbley trying to push Caron past. Andy Shaner in the third spot, as it looks like the 31 of Hooker trying to give Matherly a push, and Trumbley going by on the outside. Tony Caron stuck in the middle. Who's Aaron Johnson going to go with? Johnson goes with Caron. Humphrey goes with the 96. They're 3 wide going into turn number 3. 3 wide, 2 rows back, as Bob Burlew's on the inside with Aaron Johnson in the middle. Trumbley gets up high. He started to fall back as we see the 14 of Humphrey just brushes the wall. Lap 7 of 60's in the books. It looks like the 31 of Ashton Hooker is going to try to go by Mike Matherly on the outside. Andy Shaner is going to give him a push. At the line, it will be Hooker with the lead. Ashton Hooker leading lap number 7. And he goes by Mike Matherly. Hooker on the high side, Matherly in second. Shaner trying to push Hooker past. As they come down into turn number 3, Mike Matherly on the inside, Shaner on the outside. Sorry, turn number 2, down the back straightaway now. Ashton Hooker is running that middle line. David Trumbley running right up against the wall. They're 3 wide as they go into turn number 3. Bob Burlew trying to get up behind Mike Matherly, give Matherly a push. Matherly on the inside, Hooker on the outside. There is Shaner as well. They're coming through the center of 3 and 4. Andy Shaner, Mike Matherly, Bob Burlew, 3 wide further back. This is quite the battle. We are lap 8, and it'll be Ashton Hooker, looks like, leading lap number 8. Hooker 1. Shaner 2, the 21 of Mike Matherly in third. Matherly pulling by now on the inside, bringing that inside line around. Mike Matherly doing a nice job of running that 21 car on the bottom line. Matherly slips up just a little bit in the center of that corner. Andy Shaner now on the high side. They come out of turn number 2 onto the back straightaway. The 14 of Humphrey very near the wall. They're 3 wide, no 4 wide now, as Keegan Sabilo just made a pass on the grass. Well, just below the yellow line at Talladega. 3 wide again going into turn number 3. Mike Matherly on the inside. Bob Burlew just behind Matherly. Johnson up on the high line behind the 14 of Jonathan Humphrey. Out front, it's still the 21 of Matherly, the 31 of Hooker, then Bob Burlew, Andy Shaner, the 14 of Jonathan Humphrey, Tony Caron in the mix. Keegan Sabilo again showing up. Johnson also outside. That lap, it was Ashton Hooker leading lap number 9. We're 10 laps in now. Mike Matherly out front, the 14 of Humphrey on the high side. Matherly leads Ashton Hooker to his outside. Burlew and Shaner making up the second row. Jonathan Humphrey running very high. Keegan Sabilo down onto the apron yet again. Looks like Sabilo having a little trouble there, and he's just trying to merge back in without losing the draft. Sabilo got a nudge, got out of shape. Andy Shaner coming down. Oh, contact between the 21 of Shaner, or 21. Oh, Burlew up in the air. Johnson hard into the outside wall. That looked like the 16 of Fisher involved. Burlew still tumbling. Big crash here on lap number 10 at Talladega. That's going to bring out the caution. Nobody wants to see a big wreck like that. Anthony Hooker going to be the beneficiary. He's probably going to be the only one other than Ashton Hooker with no damage. It looked like nearly everyone was involved to some degree in that accident. That's Fisher in the 16. Fisher with the front end of that car completely gone. Fisher will head immediately into the pits. Let's jump in with Ashton Hooker and take a look at that car. Ashton in car number 31. There's Hooker, and it looks like maybe who's just behind Hooker there. That is the 23 of Tony Caron. So Caron also looks like he made it through with very little damage. Tony Caron shows up in your telemetry as car number 1 on the screen. He's car 23. Big wreck involving nearly every car on the speedway. Let's have a look at a replay and see if we can figure out what happened. I did see that Shaner looked like he was coming down a little. Also looked like Mike Matherly was sliding up in the middle of the corner. Contact between those two was real problematic there. We can see it. Yep, Matherly came up. Shaner was coming down a little bit. That drove Andy Shaner into the outside wall. Burlew and Johnson really take the brunt of it. Fisher hard into the outside wall as well. Looks like Keith Fonseca made it through with minimal damage as we watch the leaders coming in now. That's the 31 of Hooker and the 23 of Caron. Let's see if we can change camera angles here maybe. Get a little better view. We'll jump in with the 4 of Ashton Hooker, see who wins the battle off pit road here. Hooker comes in. There's the 23 of Karen. We'll jump in with Tony Karen as well and kind of watch. That's the 96 of Tremblay just in front of Karen. Looks like Andy Shaner overdrove his pit. You can see Shaner backing up just a bit. You'll notice the repairs getting made fairly quickly here. iRacing gives us the option of doing a quick repair. A quick repair gives you the chance to repair a car immediately and get it back to race pace. Once you've done that quick repair, you only get one of those in TDR leagues. After that, you have to repair in real time. Looks like Andy Shaner is going to beat everyone else out onto the speedway. The 31 of Ashton Hooker also out. Let's have another look at some replay here. Let's watch this from the backside of Mike Matherly. We're going to jump into the chase cam here. You can see Matherly was coming up, Shaner was coming down. And then when Matherly came across, he caught the 23. That tapped Aaron Johnson's right rear, sent him hard into the outside wall. Matherly, in the grand scheme of things, looks like he didn't take a ton of damage. Still quite a wreck. Let's watch what happened to Bob Burlew here. Burlew got tagged up hard into the outside wall, and then airborne, several rolls and flips. Burlew's car bouncing around wildly, and then slipping and sliding onto the apron. So Bob Burlew also in a bit of a pickle in car 66. We got the in-car camera from Burlew. Let's have a look at this right. You see Burlew following the 21. Looks like he thinks he maybe has made it by and gets tagged in the right rear. Hard impact. You see the car off the ground. And when you're seeing the sky from the cockpit of a race car, that's a problem. Bob Burlew crashing hard at Talladega. Looked like Keith Fonseca mostly made it through unscathed. Looks to me like Fonseca had very minimal damage. Let's watch one more time here with Keith Fonseca. We see Fonseca working his way through. He's down on the bottom side, gets down onto the apron, gets a little tag from the 28. That's still not too bad. Burlew clears Fonseca. Shaner got him just in the back a little bit, but Keith Fonseca really made it through that without too much trouble. So Fonseca looks like he's going to go in now and maybe take some tires. Fonseca headed into the pits. Ashton Hooker will be your leader when we come back by. It looks like it should be the 7 of Shaner in second. Downham will probably be in third here. I think everyone will be on the lead lap and in the lead pack, as Anthony Hooker was in danger of going a lap down. Hooker now should be on the lead lap, in the lead pack, and have the opportunity to fight back toward the front. Big crash on lap number 10 involving nearly every car on the track. The only cars that I didn't see involved were the 23 of Karen, the 31 of Ashton Hooker, and the 70 of Anthony Hooker. Otherwise, every car on the speedway had at least some damage. Front row will be Ashton Hooker and Andy Shaner. Second row, Jim Downham and Keegan Sabilo. Third row will be Aaron Johnson and Mike Matherly. Fourth row should be Fisher and Burlew. Fifth row, Karen and Hooker. Those 10 cars should make up your front 5 rows. As the lights are off on the pace car, headed down the back straightaway at 70 miles an hour. Looks like a really slow speed, but it's interstate highway speeds out there on the backstretch at Talladega. Just behind Johnson, it's now David Tremblay. So Trembley's moved into that fourth row. Trembley's car missing the hood. Don't know if Tremblay may have chosen to not use the quick repair. So if Tremblay didn't use the quick repair, he may be trying to repair that car the old-fashioned way and save that quick repair for later, hoping that the draft will keep that 96 car up to speed enough to hang on to this lead pack until another caution comes out, and that might give Tremblay the option of quickly repairing a car getting back out on the speedway. So a little quick repair strategy coming into play at Talladega. Looks like the pace car is in. Ashton Hooker is going to lead them to the start-finish line. Restarts are at the discretion of the leader. So Ashton Hooker will determine the start. He's right on the yellow line. Hooker followed by Downham and Johnson on the inside. Shaner followed by Sabilo and Karen on the outside. Trumbley and Matherly in row 4. Hooker hammers the throttle, gets a nice little start here. Ashton Hooker gets off to a quick start. Jim Downham follows him past. Looks like Keegan Sabilo is looking to the inside as Andy Shaner did not get the best of restarts. So Shaner does pull down inside and manages to get in the line behind the 31 of Ashton Hooker. Hooker leads, followed by Shaner, Downham, Johnson, and Karen. Sabilo on the outside. He's kind of getting left behind. He doesn't have anybody to dance with, and if you don't have a dancing partner in the draft, you're in trouble. Keegan Sabilo falling in line as Johnson's decided to move to the outside all by himself, try to make a run on this group. Aaron Johnson taking that high lane. He's moved up into the second spot. Johnson out front, trying to make his way around. On the high side, Johnson in that Mizzou car. It looks like there's some damage to the front end of that car, but quick enough to keep pace. Aaron Johnson on the outside. He's trying to make his way past on the high side. He's now moved into the second spot. It's going to be Hooker 1, Johnson 2, Shaner 3. Aaron Johnson trying to make that high lane work and take the flying 00 Mustang past to lead a lap at Talladega. Johnson on the outside, Hooker on the inside. Shaner and Downham hooking up with Hooker. Johnson being drafted by Karen, Sabilo, and Mike Matherly. Now they're 3 wide. Think better of it. Matherly looking to the inside. Johnson trying to make his way past the 31. Again, he doesn't have enough help. Tony Karen's falling back a little bit. That's allowing the inside line to move past. Aaron Johnson on the high side as they come out of turn number 3 into the tri-oval. Johnson in trouble as Ashton Hooker's going to lead lap number 15. Johnson falling back. The outside line just not working as well as that inside line does, although Johnson pulling back now. Looks like he's making some ground up on that outside line. Aaron Johnson moves back and forward. That outside line is coming. Hooker on the inside, followed by Shaner, Downham, the 70 of Anthony Hooker, and the 66 of Berlew on the outside. It's just Johnson and Tony Karen. Keegan Sabilo trying to catch this group. Now he gets to the inside. Everyone's lined up on the inside. That leaves Tony Karen and Aaron Johnson all alone. All the way we see Humphrey coming up. Humphrey looks like he's going to try to get into that outside line. Berlew slips and slides. Very near catastrophe there. That car was way out of shape. Berlew manages to catch it. Bob Berlew holding on to a 66. That's a wild ride in that Mustang. Andy Shaner in the Chevrolet, working on the back bumper. Right now it is Ford, Chevrolet, Ford running 1, 2, 3. Then Johnson in a Ford, 2 Toyotas. Those would be Anthony Hooker and Tony Karen. Then behind them, it looks like the Chevrolet. No, what is that? That is it's a Chevrolet, I think, for Bob Berlew. I can't get a good enough look at it. It is a Chevrolet. And a Ford of Jonathan Humphrey. Out front, though, Mustang leads. That is Ashton Hooker in the lead, followed by Andy Shaner in second. Aaron Johnson trying to make that outside line work. He's worked his way back up into the second spot with a little bit of help from Tony Karen. Johnson running that high line, trying to be nice and smooth. Aaron Johnson on the outside, trying to pull down on the 31 of Ashton Hooker. Will Johnson be able to lead a lap here? It's Johnson on the outside, Hooker on the inside. They're going to go by the stripe momentarily. Johnson's not going to have enough. It's going to be Ashton Hooker with the lead as they come past the start-finish line. And Hooker will lead lap number 18 by a nose. Johnson on the outside, Hooker on the inside. Then the 7 of Shaner, the 23 of Karen. Next row is the 28 of Downham, the 14 of Humphrey. Anthony Hooker in the 70 has moved in. That Toyota very quick. Bob Berlew in the Chevrolet also pulling in. You see Keith Fonseca in car 61. He's on the inside line. That's a Chevrolet. As well as the 77. That's Sabilo in a Mustang, Matherly in a Mustang, and Fisher in a Mustang. Right now, Mustang's looking like the more popular super speedway car. We'll watch as Johnson tries to make that outside line work one more time. Ashton Hooker will continue to lead. Johnson with a good run out of turn number 4. Now really trying to pull down on these guys through the tri-oval. See if he can make one more attempt at leading a lap at Talladega. Tony Karen decides he's had enough. He's going to go 3 wide. Johnson now on the outside. They come through the start-finish line. It's Ashton Hooker one more time. Aaron Johnson just doesn't quite have enough race car to lead a lap at Talladega. Point system used by TDR Racing or Tyler Daniels Racing in their Xfinity League. gives 40 points for the winner, 35 for second. No bonus points for leading a lap. Leading a lap is just for pride as Johnson gets a really nice run down the back straightaway. Tony Caron tucks in on Johnson's bumper. Johnson looks like he's going to try to get inside. He does. Johnson pulls down in front of the 31 of Ashton Hooker. Boy, that was a tight little move. Johnson trying to lead a lap at Talladega. Hooker just to Johnson's inside. Hooker's going to try to get underneath. Johnson stays right on that yellow line. Aaron Johnson with the lead, followed by the 31 of Hooker, the 7 of Shaner, then the 28 of Jim Downham, and the 70 of Anthony Hooker. Those 5 cars have pulled out in front as Johnson gets all kinds of sideways. He's going to hang on. Ashton Hooker all over Johnson's rear bumper. Bump drafting Aaron Johnson through the corner now. Out into turn 2 and onto the back straightaway. Aaron Johnson and Ashton Hooker running 1-2, those Mustangs together. Johnson trying to hang on down the back straightaway as Ashton Hooker drafts right behind Johnson. It's Johnson, Hooker, Shaner, Downham. Downham with some damage on the right rear of that 28 car. Then Anthony Hooker, the 14 of Humphrey, Burlew, and Fonseca. Caron, the loser in all that, as Anthony Caron has dropped all the way back to the 6th spot. Actually, further than that, he's dropped all the way back to the 9th spot after the lead got shuffled at Talladega. We're a third of the way into the race. Aaron Johnson with the lead. Ashton Hooker in second, Shaner third, Downham fourth, Anthony Hooker fifth, Burlew sixth. That's Humphrey on the outside. He's caught up high and dry. No drafting help. The car is just basically freight training past Jonathan Humphrey as everyone has decided to stay single file. No one risking their position to hop up. There's Tony Caron. Just as I say that, Tony Caron decides he's going to go up and draft the 14 and see if they can make anything happen in that outside line. A little drafting help will go a long way here as Humphrey and Caron are going to try to get lined up and see if they can do anything with this freight train on the inside line as Aaron Johnson has a quick race car and he's very good with Ashton Hooker pushing. They're able to maintain a couple of car lengths between Hooker and the 7 of Andy Shaner. Johnson leading, Ashton Hooker in second, Shaner third, Jim Downham fourth, Anthony Hooker in fifth, and behind them it's Bob Burlew. Johnson decides to move up high. I think he'd had enough of drafting. Just wanted to lead some laps. He's going to let the leaders go by here. Aaron Johnson choosing to move up into the high lane and maybe pull Jonathan Humphrey and Tony Caron along with him. That might have been a mistake. It is fairly early to be racing as hard as they're racing, so Johnson may be content to just get up out of the line and let these guys fight it out up front, hoping to avoid another caution. Out front, Ashton Hooker back into the lead. Andy Shaner in second, Jim Downham in third in that yellow and blue BACC Charities Mustang. Downham running a nice race, even with a little damage on the right rear. David Trumbley looks like he is well behind the field. He and Robert Trask have lost the draft. So Trumbley and Trask in a real danger of getting laps down at Talladega. We are 23 laps into a 60-lap race. Don't see Trumbley and Trask out front yet. Jonathan Humphrey is a lap down, so that 14 car is down 1 lap. He is the only car a lap down. Humphrey trying to stay with this lead pack so that if a caution does come out, he is in position to take the lucky dog. Ashton Hooker leads. Hooker now having really a pretty dominant car. He spent most of the race out front in that 31. Andy Shaner right behind him. Shaner running second with Jim Downham in third. See Bob Burlew in the Basset Hound Rescue Chevrolet. Burlew there currently sits in the 6th spot. Keith Fonseca is just behind him. They're kind of trading spaces here as Tony Caron has made a big run on the outside. Tony Caron being pulled past by the 14 of Jonathan Humphrey. Humphrey on the outside is 1 lap down. Technically, if he can get in front of the leaders here, he would be at the tail end of the lead lap. So Humphrey doing a nice job. He has made a pass. Jonathan Humphrey is the last car on the lead lap. He's leading the pack, but not the leader in the race, as Jonathan Humphrey has unlapped himself, at least for the moment. Tony Caron to his inside. Well, actually, Tony Caron now just behind him as Caron slips up just a little bit, opens the door for Hooker. Hooker doesn't barge through. It'll still be the 14 of Humphrey out front, followed by the 23 of Tony Caron. Humphrey is a lap down, the last car on the lead lap. So your leader is the 23 of Tony Karen. Karen showing up in your telemetry on the bottom left hand of the screen as car number 1. Out front with Jonathan Humphrey leading the pack. He is in 14th spot, last car on the lead lap. So Humphrey trying to keep the leaders at bay and hold on to that position in case a caution comes out. That would give Humphrey a free pass to come all the way around the speedways. We watch Bob Burlew on the outside all by himself in that 66 car. Burlew just driving up and trying to pass race cars. He's making the outside line look good, and he's doing it all alone. Burlew on the outside trying to get past the 31 of Hooker. Burlew's going to slip back just a bit, but that outside line seems to be working for the Camaro of Bob Burlew, that Basset Hound Rescue Xfinity machine. We can see lap traffic coming into play. That is the 96 of David Trumbley. Trumbley in deep trouble. Trumbley, one of the better competitors in the TDR Xfinity League, always a threat to win. David Trumbley really struggling today, having no repairs, the hood missing on that 96 car. He's in deep trouble as the leaders are coming, and they're coming in a hurry. The freight train will blast by the 96 of Trumbley. We're approaching the halfway point at Talladega. Right now, things have settled down a bit after a really frenetic early pace. A lot of lead changes early on. A big crash on lap number 7. It looks to me like now we're in just the drive and survive mode as Trumbley goes up high, gives leaders plenty of room. I think he'll probably try to get back down into the draft here, although that damage on that car, no hood, I just don't see that Trumbley's going to be able to keep up with this group. Burlew continues to work the high side. Just ahead of them, that looks like Robert Trask. Trask also in real trouble here as the leaders will chase him down very quickly. We are on lap number 27 of 60, nearing the halfway point in the TDR Xfinity Series from Talladega. Tyler Daniels Racing routinely partners with Makoni Setup Shops. Makoni, a big supporter of TDR and TDR Mission. Several charitable events that the Tyler Daniels Racing Leagues have put on. Makoni Setup Shops have been a great sponsor if you're in need of iRacing setups and you're not in a position to build your own. Makoni Setup Shops is the one-stop shop for all your iRacing needs. All your iRacing setup needs. Back out front, Humphrey still the last car on the lead lap, right out in front of the leaders as you can see them closing on Robert Trask. Trask doing his best to keep this lead pack at bay, but a single car by themselves sitting duck at Talladega. The draft so important here. Very difficult to stay at speed without having a drafting partner. Aaron Johnson has dropped all the way back to the tail end of the lead pack. Johnson in 10th now. Don't know what's going on with that Mustang, but Aaron Johnson has dropped back as we watch Bob Burlew still trying to make that outside line work. Burlew holding his own. He has no draft help. Still managing to sit there in the second spot. Looks like Burlew hoping that maybe he can pull a little draft from the 17 of Robert Trask. Trask is up high. Burlew looks like he's just going to go past on the inside. Robert Trask will have the train of cars go by, and Trask up there all by his lonesome. No help for Robert Trask. Trask will now go a lap down. So Jonathan Humphrey will be the last car on the lead lap as Robert Trask is going to try to find his way to settle in and hang on to this lead pack. Tony Karen looking to the inside. There's Bob Burlew yet again. Burlew trying to make his way to the front. He's just to the outside of the 23. Bob Burlew doing a nice job here running all by himself. Sort of drugstore cowboy in it. Burlew in the second spot with no help. That's a fantastic effort by Bob Burlew. Tony Karen trying to figure out if he wants to continue to let Humphrey hold that front spot, or does he need to try to go past as Bob Burlew is making that outside line work. Now it looks like Humphrey running that middle lane. He's trying to hold both cars at bay. Humphrey trying to stay on the lead lap. Gets shuffled up. Tony Karen's going to go by on the outside. That shuffles Burlew to the high side. Bob Burlew 3 wide, trying to take the lead here. Burlew doing it all alone. Now he's got a little help from Humphrey. Humphrey tucks back in on the inside. It's going to be Burlew on the outside, the 23 of Tony Karen on the inside, and Bob Burlew looks like he might be able to hang on to the lead here. Karen coming back on the inside. It's going to be too close to call as they come back to the start-finish line. Will Bob Burlew lead a lap at Talladega? Yes, he will. Bob Burlew with the lead. Tony Karen in second. Ashton Hooker in third. These cars still nose to tail. We're at the halfway point, and at the halfway point, it was Bob Burlew with the lead. Burlew in that Basset Hound rescue car. Bob, a big supporter of all things Basset Hound, especially of rescue dogs, of Humane Society, of just taking good care of animals and taking good care of our pets and of those pets that are in need of forever homes. So if you're looking for someone that knows a little bit about Bassets and has a passion for rehoming or making certain that Basset Hounds are well taken care of, Bob's your person. So go check out the Basset Hound rescue opportunities near you. Out front, Burlew with the lead. Karen second. Ashton Hooker third. Andy Shaner's in fourth. It looks like Jonathan Humphrey's gotten shuffled up. Humphrey now all by himself on the outside line, not having the success that Bob Burlew had. Burlew will lead the field. It looks like Tony Karen's going to try to make a run. Ashton Hooker's choosing to stick with Bob Burlew. That's going to put Tony Karen on the high side. They're back to 2x2 racing. That'll give a little help to Jonathan Humphrey. All Humphrey really needs to do is stay ahead of Trask and Trumbley, and he'll be the first car lap down. Looks to me like Trask he's in the third spot. So that 17 and the 14, that's a race for the lucky dog spot. Robert Trask holding on here. It's going to be Trask and that 14. That's the race within a race. Those two cars battling for the lucky dog spot. Out front, it is Bob Burlew with the lead. Ashton Hooker is in second. Andy Shaner third. Actually, Anthony Karen third. Andy Shaner fourth. Jim Downing in the fifth spot. Looks like Anthony Hooker in sixth. Fonseca seventh. Keegan Sabilo 8th, Mike Matherly 9th, and Aaron Johnson rounding out the top 10. Johnson, the last car in this lead pack. 12 cars in this lead pack. Johnson at the tail end of that group. Not really able to make his way forward at all. In fact, those 3 cars in a little bit of danger of losing the draft. As they've dropped back just a bit, there's a gap between Fonseca and the 70 of Anthony Hooker. Out front, Bob Burlew with the lead. 28 laps to go. Burlew doing a nice job at Talladega, holding on to the lead in that Chevrolet Camaro. Tony Karen, Anthony Hooker, the 2 Toyotas in the field. Shaner in a Chevrolet. Burlew in a Chevrolet. Fonseca in a Chevrolet. Bob Burlew down the back straightaway, doing a nice job in that blue and white Camaro with the yellow 66s on the side. Burlew having a nice run. Ashton Hooker has been the fastest car on the speedway for most of the race. He's trying to find his way back around that 66 car. 27 laps to go. We're just past halfway. We had a caution on lap 10. I'd expect tire changes then somewhere around lap 40 to 44. So sometime the next 6 to 10 laps, we should see people starting to come in for fuel. Fuel load here maybe runs a maximum of about 34, 35 laps. Bob Burlew leading. Ashton Hooker in second. Andy Shaner running third. That's the 17 of Robert Trask between Shaner and Hooker. Robert Trask is the first car a lap down. Were the caution to come out, Trask would be in the lucky dog spot. That's a battle for the lucky dog spot with the 14. The 14 there on the outside. That's Jonathan Humphrey, also 1 lap down. Those 2 cars fighting for the lucky dog spot. Fisher has gone into the pits. Fisher in the pits now. He'd lost the draft. David Trumbley also a lap down. Trumbley in real trouble as he has no drafting help. Trumbley liable to go 2 laps down if we don't have a caution. And that looks like it's either Fisher or Trumbley just ahead of the field. Couldn't make out which car that was. Looks like David Trumbley to me. He was just going through 3 and 4 as the leaders are coming. Trumbley at reduced speed. He's got some aerodynamic damage. You can see Johnson trying to make his way around Matherly on the outside here. Aaron Johnson's been running in the 10th spot right at the tail of this lead pack. Johnson tucks back in line. Burlew stays out front. Ashton Hooker in second. Shaner is in fourth, as it looks like Tony Caron now has moved back up to the outside. He's going to try to give some help to the 14 of Jonathan Humphrey, and Humphrey is looking pretty racy. He's moving his way up on the outside. Jonathan Humphrey is now in the lucky dog spot, just ahead of the 17 of Robert Trask, and they are coming up on the 96 of David Trumbley. Trumbley gets down onto the apron. He's going to give the leaders all kinds of room. David Trumbley running on the inside below the yellow line just to let the leaders go by. Trumbley, a class act, will let the drivers and racers fight it out on the speedway. Looking not to interfere with the great battle going on up front as Jonathan Humphrey has unlapped himself. Humphrey now at the tail end of the lead lap, just in front of the 66 of Burlew. It's Burlew, then the 31 of Hooker, 17 of Trask. He is 1 lap down, followed by Andy Shaner, Jim Downham, Tony Caron, and Anthony Hooker. Let's have a look at how they run on the field. That's the 66 of Bob Burlew, just behind the 14 of Humphrey. Just behind that pair, it's Ashton Hooker in the 31. Behind Ashton, that's the 17 of Robert Trask. Behind Trask, that's the 7 of Andy Shaner. Shaner currently running in what looks like about the 3rd spot. Behind Shaner, this is 28 of Jim Downham in 4th. Then the 70 of Anthony Hooker in 5th. Tony Caron in the Toyota there is in 6th. That's the Nasky Nation car. Keith Fonseca, the 61, the U.S. Air Force car in 7th. And behind him, that's Keegan Sabilo in 77 and 8th. Mike Matherly in the Carolinas car, the 21, is in 9th. And Aaron Johnson in the 00 is running 10th. Behind Johnson, the next cars on the speedway are in the pits. That's both David Trumbley and Fish Fisher. So we're back out front to the 14 of Jonathan Humphrey. Humphrey, the last car on the lead lap. 22 laps to go. Humphrey leads. Humphrey leads the pack, but Bob Burlew is the leader, as Humphrey is the last car on the lead lap, running right out in front of the leaders. Good quick race car. Seems to be pulling this pack along at a pretty good clip. But Humphrey, tail end of the lead lap. Bob Burlew is your leader. The 17 car also a lap down. The 12-car pack, 10 cars of which are on the lead lap. Things have settled down at Talladega. Bob Burlew leading several laps after a little bit of action early on. It looks like Tony Caron's pulled out to try to make that high line work again. Aaron Johnson was going to go with him. Mike Matherly jumped up. Looked like it kind of blocked Johnson there. As everybody gets back in line, Tony Caron looking to the outside again. Matherly looking to the outside with him. Caron running up high. Mike Matherly trying to go with him. Matherly up high, now back down low. We can see Mike trying to decide, does he want to run up high? Does he want to come down low? Matherly unable to close in on the 23 of Tony Caron. Matherly stays in line, now slips up just a bit more. Tony Caron trying to make that high line work all by himself. We can see Tony Caron here trying to make that outside line work. He's moved past Andy Shaner, now trying to make his way past the 17 of Robert Trask. Everyone else single file on the inside, but here comes Tony Caron running that outside line. Caron just driving past people on the outside lane. He's got a good run here, and he's going to try to go by the 17 of Trask. Trask a lap down. Caron closing in as we see Hooker slide up just a bit and trying to decide, does he want to go outside? Caron moves up to give Hooker a little more room. Tony Caron just driving past cars on the outside line like it's a Sunday afternoon on his way to church or to go get groceries at the Piggly Wiggly. Caron on the outside. Ashton Hooker on the inside. Tony Caron's worked his way up to 3rd, just pulled out and drove past people. And Tony Caron with that Toyota really doing a nice job. Caron looks like he might be able to take the 2nd spot as they come past the start-finish line. Bob Burlew's up front, and Tony Caron will come home in the second spot here with 19 to go. Bob Burlew, Caron, Ashton Hooker, Keith Fonseca's moved up to the outside. Things starting to get a little interesting here. We're 19 laps out. A little early to start making too many moves. But Fonseca's decided he wants to go with Tony Caron. He's going to see if he can't push Caron past. Fonseca right on Caron's back bumper as they go down the back straightaway into turn number 3. Keith Fonseca drafting along with Tony Caron. A little internet flicker there with the problem. Tony Caron looks to the high side, Burlew on the inside. Tony Caron up high with a good quick race car and some help. Keith Fonseca trying to push the 23 of Tony Caron past Bob Burlew in the 66 at the stripe. We're going to see, will Caron be able to lead? Keith Fonseca looks a little bit to the outside. Tony Caron moves up to take advantage of some of that drafting air. Tony Caron's going to lead this lap. Tony Caron with 18 to go now. Caron led lap 42. Tony Caron trying to work his way past. Some more internet flicker. Caron slips back down behind the 14. That's going to leave Keith Fonseca out to dry. The 14 of Humphrey slides up. He's going to try to take advantage of Keith Fonseca, see if he can get a push here and stay out front. As Jonathan Humphrey trying to hold on to the tail end of the lead lap in hopes that a caution will come out and allow him to circle the field and come back and get on the tail of this lead pack. Jonathan Humphrey running that high line. He's got some help in the form of Keith Fonseca, that black and green Air Force car. Fonseca, a regular in a lot of TDR leagues, great driver. One of the most improved TDR drivers I've seen. Runs up front very regularly, especially in the Xfinity and Cup cars. So Keith Fonseca looks like he's going to ride the 14, and Fonseca's going to come out front. These two cars pulling down in front of the 23 of Tony Caron. Keith Fonseca is out front. Can he hang on to the lead back to the start-finish line? That would mark leader number 6. Fonseca, Caron, Burlew, Ashton Hooker, Aaron Johnson, and Mike Matherly have all led at Talladega today. Fonseca now looking to the inside of the 14 of Jonathan Humphrey. Humphrey really needs to keep this group moving quickly or he's going to get shuffled back. Bob Burlew has dropped back into the middle of this pack. Burlew would be in the lucky dog spot because Humphrey is on the lead lap. Out front, it's the 61 of Keith Fonseca with the lead. Fonseca doing a nice job here. That black and green Camaro really quick. So Fonseca up front, Tony Caron second. Burlew, I think, sitting in the third spot. Just behind them, that's Ashton Hooker in fourth. Then the lapped car of Trask, followed by Shaner in 5th, Jim Downham running 6th with Anthony Caron 7th, Sabilo 8th, Mike Matherly 9th, and Aaron Johnson in the 10 spot. Johnson content just to hang on to the back end of this group and hope that nothing happens in front of him, and if it does happen that he can miss it. Little gap now between this 3-car pack of Humphrey, Fonseca, and Caron. Will gap back to Burlew. Not enough to worry about yet, although Hooker's looking to the inside of Burlew. I think Hooker's starting to wonder if this 3-car group's going to pull away from them a bit. That's the Mustang of Humphrey, the Camaro of Fonseca, and the Camry of Tony Caron. All 3 makes represented, although Humphrey is a lap down. Behind them, it's the 66 of Burlew. There are 15 laps to go. Johnson looked up high, decided better of it. Tony Caron's going to pull out, try the high side on the 61 of Keith Fonseca. Caron doesn't have enough to get up side by side, so he pulls back into line. Jonathan Humphrey, the last car on the lead lap, is leading the pack, but it is Keith Fonseca in the 61 that's leading the race. Fonseca out front, followed by Tony Caron, a small gap back to Bob Burlew in the 66. Burlew doing a nice job after taking a wild ride on lap number 10. Hard impact to the outside wall, a couple of barrel rolls, a lot of air for the 66 of Burlew, and he has used that quick repair to move back into the 3rd spot. 14 laps to go. The 61 of Fonseca leads, the 23 of Caron just behind him. Both cars drafting off the 14 of Humphrey. Humphrey is a lap down. Well, he's the last car on the lead lap. Just in front of the leaders here, trying to stay on the lead lap. No movement. These drivers content to sort of stay in line. Not a lot of side-by-side racing here. It's still a bit early to start making your moves. I would think a lot of drivers probably going to start making moves with about 10 to go. So at about 10 to go, they're going to start making moves. They may be able to make it to the end without another stop at Talladega. Laps to go now, 13 to go. Tony Caron looking to the high side. That 23 Toyota sliding up just a bit, the Nowski Nation car. Keith Fonseca continuing to lead. Bob Burlew in third. Aaron Johnson looking to the high side of Mike Matherly now. No dice. Johnson just can't get by. A little gap between the 23 of Caron and the 66 of Bob Burlew. Jonathan Humphrey, the tail end of the lead lap. He's leading the field, but Fonseca leads the race, followed by Tony Caron. These two cars now extending that gap just a little bit over the 66 of Burlew. Burlew in no danger of losing the draft just yet. The field stringing out just a bit. Also a gap between the 17 of Trask and the 7 of Shaner. So the field stringing out a bit. There's 12 laps to go. Fonseca with the lead. Tony Caron has gotten position on the inside of Keith Fonseca. And the 14 of Jonathan Humphreys moved up to try to take the draft from Fonseca and see if they can hold off the 23. Humphrey with a vested interest in staying out front as he is the last car on the lead lap. Humphrey upside. Caron gets below the yellow line as it looks like pit stop's finally going to happen. That's the 23 of Caron that's going in. Also looks like Burlew, the 77 of Keegan Sabilo, will come in. Don't know who else came in. Looks like Johnson came in with this group, as did Mike Matherly. So we've got 5 cars coming in. That's the 77 of Sabilo, the 23 of Caron, the 66 of Bob Burlew, the 00 of Johnson, and the 21 of Matherly. Let's go back out front with Ashton Hooker. Looked like Burlew overdrove his pit. Keith Fonseca is out front. Humphrey stays on the tail end of the lead lap. We've got a 6-car breakaway here. Johnson coming out of the pits just behind the 77 of Keegan Sabilo. Looks like Matherly's still in the pits. Mike Matherly having some kind of trouble there, so Aaron Johnson going to catch a break there. That'll move Johnson up into the 9th spot, I believe. Burlew also looks to have had some sort of trouble in the pits. So out front, Johnson trying to catch up to Keegan Sabilo. Those two cars will be all by themselves. As out front, it is Ashton Hooker in the 31 that's jumped back into the lead. Keith Fonseca has dropped off into the pits. Out front, it is Hooker, Shaner, Downham, and Anthony Hooker. So 4 cars here together up front. That's the 17 of Trask, 1 lap down. Trask, the first car, 1 lap down. Out front, it is Ashton Hooker with the lead, followed by the 17 of Trask, a lap down. Shaner in the 7 is actually in the 2nd spot. Out front, Hooker leads. These cars have yet to make their pit stops as Ashton Hooker holds on to the lead. 10 to go. Now 9 to go. Ashton Hooker leading, followed by Shaner, Downham, and Anthony Hooker. This pack out front. The next group behind them looks like it's being led by the 61 of Keith Fonseca, as Keegan Sabilo, Johnson, Fonseca have caught up and are maybe trying to run together here. Keith Fonseca with the 14 of Jonathan Humphrey. This is a 4-car pack. These 4 cars will try to get nose to tail and see if they can't draft together and make some good speed. Johnson is going back into the pits. Aaron Johnson black flagged for unsafe pit exit. So Aaron Johnson held on to the draft with Keegan Sabilo for a bit. Johnson in real trouble as he's going to have to serve a stop-and-go penalty for speeding on pit road. Johnson too quick exiting. It was not unsafe. Johnson caught speeding. So Aaron Johnson in real trouble there. This pack trying to work together to catch this one. That is Hooker, Shaner, Downham and Hooker with the 17 of Trask as an interloper. These guys have yet to pit. We can see just in front of them that looked like Burlew and maybe the 23 of Tony Karen. That is the 23 of Tony Karen. So Burlew and Karen in trouble here. But I don't think this pack's going to have enough fuel to make it to the end. I just don't see that happening. So bound to be a pit just about any time for fuel for this group. There it is. Ashton Hooker coming in. Looks like the 7 of Shaner's going to come in. All these cars coming in. Hooker way down low. He's going to come inside. Shaner, Trask. That's the whole group. So I think the lead's going to come back around. Could very well be Keegan Sabilo with the lead when the pit stops are completed. Let's go back over here and take a look at what's happening in the pits. As we can see, Fisher still sitting there waiting on that car to be repaired. Hooker is in. 7 of Shaner is in. The 70 of Hooker, Anthony Hooker, is in. So everyone in. Let's go back out here and ride along with Keegan Sabilo. Here comes Sabilo as they're coming down into the tri-oval. The question's going to be, will this group be ahead of or behind Shaner and that group that just is now coming out of the pits? We're going to watch and see what happens with this set of cars. And there is that first group that just pitted. Sabilo, Fonseca, and the 14 of Humphrey trying to close in on this group that's just now coming out of the pits. That was Andy Shaner in that group. We're going to watch as Sabilo's group pulls down on these cars. Andy Shaner led that group out of the pits. Fonseca was in the second spot, but here comes Sabilo in that pack. So we're going to have another nice big pack of cars here. Looks like about 8 cars that are going to be racing for the win at Talladega. They're going to be led by the 7 of Andy Shaner. Robert Trask in second. Pit stops have shuffled through there. 7 to go. Andy Shaner has the lead. The 31 of Ashton Hooker is in the second slot. Jim Downham is third. Anthony Hooker fourth. Keegan Sabilo fifth. Keith Fonseca is in the sixth spot. And Tony Karen in seventh. These 8 cars will slice and dice for the lead right now. That looked like Tony Karen sliding way up the racetrack. Manages to hang on to it. Sabilo looks low. He's trying to get underneath the 70 of Anthony Hooker's. Downham and Hooker decided to run on the outside. Jim Downham's car with a little bit of damage. That may be a problem. It may be a problem just to see exactly how these cars are going to go through the draft. I don't know if the 28 with that damage is going to be a good car to run up front. 28 may be a better pusher than a puller out here. So out front, Andy Shaner with lead. He's kind of running a middle groove here, daring somebody to try to root him up from the underneath or pass him from the outside. Shaner with 6 to go. There'll be 5 to go this time by Andy Shaner with lead. Jim Downham to his outside. Downham doing a nice job. Looks like he's really pulling forward as we see Fonseca get up high. Now looking back low. Keith Fonseca doing nice work as well. Out front, it is Andy Shaner with the lead. The 17 of Trask is a lapped car. Anthony Hooker trying to push Jim Downham toward the front. It is Downham, Hooker, and Sabilo on the outside. Shaner, Trask, Ashton Hooker, Keith Fonseca, and Tony Karen on the inside. These cars racing for the lead. 5 laps to go. Can Andy Shaner hang on and take the win? The 17 of Trask moves around just a little bit. The car's really buffeted by the draft here, so air movement really causing these cars to move around a bit. iRacing's done a nice job with simulating exactly what air does in a tight pack like this. Out front, Shaner and Downham racing for the lead. At the line, it's still going to be Andy Shaner in a dead heat with Jim Downham. So Andy Shaner will get credit for leading lap number 56. 4 to go. Shaner with the lead. Trask in second. On the outside, Jim Downham trying to make his way past Anthony Hooker with a push. Trask looks to the inside. Trask looking to the inside is Shaner. Shaner's kind of been rooted up here, now gets back in line. Trask decided he's going to maybe try to get out of the way. Don't know what's going on there with Trask looking below the yellow line in a couple of spots. Jim Downham trying to go high. Downham through the center of 3 and 4. A good run on the high side being pushed and helped along by Anthony Hooker and Keegan Sabilo. Keith Fonseca has now moved up to the high line, as has, looks like, Tony Karen. So the inside line kind of being hung out to dry here as we come back to the start-finish line with 3 to go this time by. Jim Downham with the lead. So Jim Downham's going to lead lap number 57. Haven't called that name a lot today, but when it matters, Jim Downham taking that beaten and battered Mustang toward the front. It is Shaner on the inside, Downham on the outside. The lap car of Trask pushing Shaner along. Downham being helped out by the 70 of Anthony Hooker, Keegan Sabilo. Now Keith Fonseca makes it 3 wide, looks up on the outside, thinks better of it, tucks back in line. 3 to go. Shaner with the lead. Downham on the high side. Jim Downham doing a nice job here, trying to hang on to win as Andy Shaner takes the lead. Anthony Hooker trying to push Downham past. Downham always gets a good run through the tri-oval. Jim Downham not going to lead this lap, I don't believe. It looks to me like Andy Shaner is going to lead with 2 to go. Shaner moving up more toward the center of the racetrack. Downham coming back on the high side. Downham's going to lead this lap. So Jim Downham will lead lap number 58. 2 laps to go. Jim Downham pushing past the 7 of Andy Shaner with a little bit of help from Anthony Hooker. Hooker doing a nice job pushing Downham toward the front. Sabilo lined up just behind him. It's a 5-car draft on the outside, 3 cars on the inside. Keith Fonseca looking toward the center. Jim Downham pulls down to try to hold off the charge by Fonseca. Downham looking to the inside. Anthony Hooker to the inside. Sabilo nearly touches with Tony Karen. Karen's dropped back down onto the inside line after being on the outside line. No movement here as we watch the 7 of Andy Shaner come out of 4 onto the front straightaway. Jim Downham coming back on the high side. Downham getting a great run as they go through the tri-oval. Jim Downham out front. Fonseca nudges up Anthony Hooker. Cars all over the place here at the line. It's going to be Jim Downham. 1 to go. Downham leading. Fonseca takes Hooker into the outside wall. That's going to take a lot of cars out as it looks like it's going to leave either Jim Downham or Andy Shaner racing for the lead. The rest of the field is crashed. That was a hard wreck with Keith Fonseca and Anthony Hooker. Jim Downham is on the outside here. He's trying to work with Andy Shaner. Robert Trask goes to the inside. Trask is a lap down. Looks like Andy Shaner is going to be out front. Downham on the high side. Can he come back one more time and use that high line and the momentum to take the win here? Jim Downham not going to have enough race car. Looks to me like Andy Shaner is going to take the win here, though. Downham coming back on the outside. He's going to try to make a run of it. Downham on the outside, Shaner on the inside. They're coming toward the stripe. Trask helping Andy Shaner out. Doesn't get up behind Jim Downham. At the line, there's a little crash. Downham and Shaner get together. They hit the wall and wreck across the start-finish line as the lapped car, that was the 17 of Trask, that got into Andy Shaner. Shaner will come home with the win. Carnage all over the racetrack as Andy Shaner will come home with the win. The front end of that car gone. Jim Downham in second. Tony Karen will finish third. Bob Burlew looks like he will come home in the 4th spot with Keegan Sabilo 5th. Ashton Hooker in 6th, Anthony Hooker in 7th. After that, I don't know what's going to happen. We're still waiting on cars to come back around. Looks like maybe Mike Matherly will come home in 8th. Keith Fonseca in 9th, and Robert Trask in the 10th spot. Aaron Johnson will finish up 11 after that stop-and-go penalty. Jonathan Humphrey in 12th, David Tremblay 13th, and Don Fish Fisher in 14th. That's quite the race from Talladega Superspeedway. Andy Shaner coming home with the win. Shaner's car beat all to pieces. Jim Downham doing a nice job to finish second as they came across the finish line wrecking, but finished 1-2. That's going to do it from Talladega. For the Johnson iRacing team on the Johnson iRacing Network, this is Aaron Johnson saying, go fast, turn left, have fun.